What's going on, guys? So August 4th to August 8th, we have a massive week of earnings coming up, and we have a massive week of economic data coming up too. Most notably, we have Palantir, we have HIMS. Let me get myself out of the way. We have a lot of stuff going on right here. We have AMD, we have SMCI, we have Ionic, we have Uber, we have Shopify, we have McDonald's, we have Tempest AI. I know a lot of people talk about that one because Nancy Pelosi bought it. We have Rocket Labs. We have a lot of stuff to cover in this video right here. And of course, we do have some economic data. It's not a humongous week for the data, actually, but there is some very important things that we have to talk about coming out on Thursday to give us a clue of how the labor market is actually doing right now. Because a lot of people are worried, like, oh my God, are we going to go into a recession? A labor market, the jobs report just came in kind of bad. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you a little bit of clarity around what I'm thinking with that, at least, and of course, how I'm going to capitalize on that too. So, starting on a Monday pre-market, there's not a lot going on pre-market on Monday, but the big dog is going to be Monday. After hours is going to be Palantir and HIMS. There's a lot of heat around Palantir, a lot of heat on HIMS. These are the hot stocks. Everybody loves it. And if we just go look at the price chart for Palantir, it's just pretty much straight up out of control. And, if we open this up on the full screen here and we scroll down, here's the key thing to look at for Palantir. We have a price earnings ratio of 334, which indicates that the stock is expensive fundamentally. Now you're going to say, well, Brandon, what the heck? The revenue is going straight up, which you're right. The revenue since Q1 of 2021 is going up pretty good. But if we look at earnings per share, it's kind of skewed because it was negative right here. But I want to talk about the estimates, okay? So if we just go to Q2 of 2025, which is what's being reported on Monday, we're expecting 12 cents per share. But if we go to Q2 of 2024, they reported 9 cents per share. So going from 9 cents per share to 12 cents per share, if they report what's being expected, is that enough growth to really justify a 334 PE? In my opinion, absolutely not. Palantir is very, very expensive right now. And if you own shares, yes, you made a lot of money in the past, but going forward, I don't expect the returns to be as well on Palantir going forward as they were in the past. There's a lot of hype on the stock. There's a lot of euphoria in the market. There's a lot of euphoria on that stock itself. So you have to be very careful on Palantir right now. Now, if we go back to the economic chart here, let's see what else is going on Monday. Again, we have HIMS like we just talked about. HIMS stock, again, super volatile, bouncing up and down like crazy. But this is a stock that has a lot of people looking at it. It's a very hot stock too. So if we pull this up on the big screen right here, you can see we have a PE ratio of 91, which of course is much better than Palantir, but it's still a little bit expensive. And if we look at their growth, let's just hide the estimates here real quick. So they reported 20 cents last quarter. And if we compare that to Q1 of the previous quarter, it was 5 cents. So don't you see how much faster HIMS is growing versus Palantir? And HIMS at the same time is trading at a lower price earnings ratio level. Look at the revenue, it's pretty much going parabolic. So if we go over to estimates for Q2 of 2025, which is coming on Monday, we're expecting 21 cents. But if we go to the same quarter last year, we got 6 cents. So don't you see how much faster HIMS is growing versus Palantir? So it's like this idea that money always wants to find the best risk adjusted return. Just because you love Palantir doesn't mean it's a good investment. A good company is not always a good investment. So be very, very careful how much exposure you have to Palantir right now, because I promise you, if the expectation does not meet the reality and the expectation is pretty much perfection, if they don't blow it out of the water, the stock is going to fall like a rock. If they blow it out of the water, sure, the trend could keep going up, but just know that there's that headwind of perfection having to be priced in every single quarter, quarter after quarter after quarter. Maybe they do it, maybe they don't. But it's kind of like counting all your chickens before they hatch is kind of a risky thing to do. So the rest of the stuff going on for Monday on the earnings reports isn't really that big. And then if we go over to the economic calendar, we just have factory orders, which come out at 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's not really a big needle mover. I don't really want to elaborate much more on that. But if we head over to Tuesday, this is where big stuff comes in. So we have Pfizer and we have Caterpillar, which these aren't really humongous things for me, but Caterpillar kind of shows, Caterpillar makes industrial equipment like backhoes, bulldozers, and stuff like that. If people are buying those, it shows that we're building stuff in America and building stuff elsewhere in the world. So this could be an indicator of how the economy overall is doing. But again, it's just one company, one little snapshot right here to see what's going on. So we'll put a little bit of weight on it, but not a lot. Now, scrolling down, we have a couple big dogs that report. AMD is a big one. I have a lot of exposure to AMD. I bought shares down here. I sold puts. I basically sold puts, got big premium up front, took that premium, and then bought shares, and I made a lot of money on the shares so far. But AMD is due for a little bit of a give back right here. You can see we had a little bit of a blow off top, 100% justified. But if we go over to the big screen on AMD, let's do a little bit of a comparison here. So you could see AMD's price earnings ratio on the bottom left is 47, but look at how good the growth is. Yes, it's kind of bumpy, but if you just look at the growth, and it's going to pretty much correspond perfectly to what the actual stock chart's doing. Let me put this on a 5-year chart. You can see earnings per share up, stock went down because earnings went down, a little bump here, and then overall the trend is up. This big downtrend right here is obviously because of what Trump did with tariffs and the market freaked out and everything went down. But overall, stocks follow what earnings do. And you can see that AMD's earnings, so they just reported Q1, that was 96 cents. But if we go to Q1 of last year, that was 62 cents. So from 62 to 96, that's pretty good. And you're getting all that for a 47 price earnings ratio level, which honestly isn't that bad in my opinion. So AMD, just if you don't know, AMD designs chips. They don't build chips. TSM is the one that actually manufactures the chips. So NVIDIA, AMD, they're designing the chips. They send those blueprints that they designed to TSM. TSM will build them. Now, the other company that reports on Tuesday is going to be SMCI, Supermicro. And Supermicro is a company that helps implement these chips into the data centers. So think of this water bottle right here as the chip that AMD or NVIDIA designs, for example. They're going to design it. TSM is going to actually build it. And then SMCI is going to take this chip and actually integrate it into these data centers like at Meta or Tesla or wherever. So Supermicro gives us a good indicator of what's your backlog, how much you're really implementing, what is your guidance, because they know what the true AI demand is actually going to be. So this is going to be an important company to look at. So that's really the main stuff for Tuesday right there. Let me go back to the main calendar. I mean, we have Arista Networks, we have Rivian. Of course, Rivian we could look at, but I don't think Rivian, like I'm not really bullish on that company. And you could see the stock price hasn't really been doing anything because I don't think they have a moat. I don't think they have a durable competitive advantage. I don't think they have pricing power. This applies to Lucid too. And it's like, Tesla guided pretty soft for the next couple of years. Auto sales are down. But again, like the whole valuation of Tesla is based on Robotaxi and Optimus, the humanoid robot. So, Rivian doesn't have really any of that. So I don't think this company is going to be doing well in the future, but, time will tell. Now, if we go over to the economic calendar for Tuesday, there's not really that much going on. I mean, we have ISM services data, which basically says so anything over 50% indicates expansion, and anything under 50% is kind of like a contraction, so getting smaller. So it's pretty much flattish. Not really much is coming on right here for the data for ISM services. US trade deficit, we're expecting to have a $61 billion deficit. We'll see what actually happens with that and see what's happening with Trump's tariffs. Maybe it helps even things out a little bit. Maybe it doesn't, but time will tell. Now, let's go over to Wednesday here and see what we got going on. So Uber, Shopify, Disney, McDonald's, Oscar Health. Oscar's a big one. I know a lot of you guys like to talk about that one. And it's kind of like a meme stock. It's going up, it's going down. And if we look at the 5-year chart, I mean, it came off this low right here of like, $4 a share, went all the way up to, almost $20 a share. And now it's settling at $13 a share. But, we'll see what happens with that. I don't have exposure to it. I probably won't get exposure to it. Uber's one that's been doing good as of late. And Uber recently made a partnership with Lucid for potentially having a self-driving car unit there. But we'll see how long this actually takes to roll out. You could see that Tesla is trying to roll out the Robotaxi network right now. They have it going in Austin, Texas. They're trying to do it in the Bay Area in California right now. They're going to roll out to Nevada and other states soon. We'll see how this actually scales. But Uber knows they have to come up with some form of Robotaxi equivalent because it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be safer, and people are going to want to do that. And of course, if you buy a Tesla, for example, down the road, maybe your car is going to be able to go Uber for you and it's going to make you money. So your car is no longer going to be a liability, it's going to be an asset. So, we'll see what happens with Uber. I think they have to do something though, but I'm concerned with their durable competitive advantage and their moat. So for that reason, I'm not going to buy the stock. Now, if we take a look at Ionic, this is a stock that's been going completely out of control. And I know a lot of people like to talk about it. It came off this low right here, September 2nd of 2024, $7. Now it's at $38 per share. But again, look at the revenue of this company. It's growing revenue, but it's not really growing revenue too much. I mean, we're talking about revenue of $7.5 million. Like, that's not a lot of revenue. Like, look at AMD's revenue, for example. We're talking about $7.5 billion. And Ionic, for example, is doing, 7.5 million. So it's a huge difference right here of what these companies are actually doing from a revenue standpoint. And earnings per share, everything is below zero right here. This company is not making money in their revenue. It's not really doing too much good growth. Looks like it got, euphoric up here. People were buying their product and it's kind of like, I don't want it anymore. So we'll see what happens with Ionic. I'm not a buyer of that. I think there's a lot of speculation built into that. You can make a lot of money, but you could also lose a lot of money. So I'm not a buyer of Ionic. So that's really it for Wednesday. And then if we just head over to the economic calendar, we just have Lisa Cook and we have Susan Collins doing a little bit of talking there. Again, it's probably not a huge needle mover for the stock market, so it's not that much to worry about. So let's just roll right into Thursday now. We have Eli Lilly, Celsius again, the hot stock. But if we look at the price of Celsius, let's take a look at what it did, 5-year chart. Big run up all the way up into this blow off top of 94 bucks per share. Fell all the way down to 25 bucks per share and now trading at 44. This stock is doing okay, but again, when you go walk into a gas station, when you go walk into a grocery store, do you feel like Celsius has a durable competitive advantage? Like, yes, it's popular, it's the hot thing right now, but it's like there's so many other drinks right next to it to the left and to the right. It's like, why Celsius? You guys can leave a comment below why you think Celsius has a moat and why they have a durable competitive advantage. But just me looking at this, drink in a grocery store or a gas station, it's like, it's hard for me to justify paying, 74 times earnings for this stock right here. Yes, if we look at the revenue, it's been going up, but it kind of hasn't been growing year over year too much because a lot of the hype is kind of being like, inflated out of the balloon on it. And earnings per share is going to act kind of proportionate to that. Earnings per share is kind of flat, revenue is kind of flat, and you're paying, a pretty lofty price earnings ratio level for something that's not really growing that much. So Celsius, I am not a buyer of right now. All this other stuff up here, it's important, but it's not that important. And, Rocket Labs, again, we're talking about all these meme stocks right now that I'm sure you guys actually want to talk about. Look, I'm a pilot. I know how expensive it is to fly things through the air. It's very expensive. It's not always sustainable. It's whatever. This is a company that's sending rockets to space. You could read right here, Rocket Lab is engaged in space, building rockets and spacecraft. It provides end-to-end mission services that provide frequent and reliable access to space for civil defense, commercial markets, whatever. But they're not even close to being profitable. Like, look at their earnings per share. It's getting worse. Like, they're losing 12 cents a share and it's getting worse. So a company like this where the stock price is going straight up, but the earnings per share is going straight down, I'm not a buyer of this stock. Yes, the revenue is going up a little bit, but it's like, I don't know if this company is ever going to become profitable. And if we go to Thursday on the economic calendar, we do have some important stuff here. Initial jobless claims. This is what I was talking about in the beginning of the video that we have to go through. So initial jobless claims is kind of broken up into two different categories. There's initial claims and there's continued jobless claims. So initial claims is like, let's just say you have a job at Walmart. You get fired, you get laid off, whatever it is. You're going to file for unemployment benefits. The first time that you file unemployment benefits, that is your initial claim. So that's week one, your initial claim. But let's say that you're sitting on unemployment benefits for week after week after week after week after week, and you're still looking for work. That becomes a continued claim. Now, the issue with this is there's not that many people getting laid off from their jobs, but there's also not that many people getting hired at new jobs. There's not a lot of new jobs being created, but also not a lot of people getting laid off. So there's this balance right now, and Jerome Powell at the Fed was just talking about this, how the labor market's working fine right now, but if we get a sudden spike of people getting laid off, there's not going to be a lot of jobs to be able to take those people and employ them. So what's happening with the continued jobless claims the last few months, weeks, years, whatever it is, they're slowly trending up because people that are sitting on unemployment are having a harder time finding work. So that's exactly what's being reported on Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 a.m. Pacific. We're going to see how initial and continued jobless claims actually are. Maybe they're going to be better than expected. Maybe they're going to be worse than expected. But that also corresponds to this chart right here that I sent over in Discord. Let me get myself out of the way. So this is the change of new jobs created going all the way back to January of 2021. You can see, like I was saying, the trend is going down. There's not as many new jobs being created. And this is the thing that's making Trump mad, because he's like, why do we report super good jobs numbers right here, like say 200,000 jobs got created, but then we get those numbers revised down to maybe like 20,000 jobs. And he's like, what the heck? Why is it so different than what it was initially reported at? And my solution is like, why not just wait a few more weeks until the data is a little bit more accurate, a little bit more concrete? Because it's like, I'm in a camp of give us accurate data. Don't give us BS data that's not even close to just get the data report out there. So he's talking about firing the person that's in charge of this report and stuff like that. It's kind of funny. But the point is this: job creation is going down, but also layoffs are not that high right now. So the unemployment rate is staying steady. But if we see a spike in people getting laid off, there's going to be trouble for the economy and trouble for the labor market because there's not as many jobs to take those people to go get reemployed. There's not that many jobs getting created. And when there's not that many jobs getting created, the unemployment rate's going to go straight up. And this is what Jerome Powell directly said is major downside risk for the economy. So we do have to keep an eye out for this. And then for Friday, there's not really much going on the economic front. And then Friday for earnings, we have Tempest AI, which could be a good company to invest in, but again, it's very speculative. They're very new. They are still not making any money, and I'm not really a net buyer of that. So every Sunday, I'm going to send this out. Hopefully, it helps you guys out a lot. There's a lot of stuff to break down. I do it all in Discord. Links below if you want to get in for free. But if you don't want to do that, watch this video right here. It's going to break down how I do stock options and how other people just like you are making a lot of money with my system. I'll see you guys there.